This segment brought to you by SureCrop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
So we're here at the Agronomy North Farm in Manhattan, and we just finished the wheat quality tour where over 60 people were just sampling wheat around the state for the last 2.5 days. So the overall production consensus was 306 million bushels, which if we consider all the 7 million acres being harvested, that comes out to about 44 bushels per acre. But of course, some of it will be abandoned, right? So if we put a 9% abandonment there, it's still going to come out close to a 47 bushel per acre. Keep in mind that this 47 bushels per acre, it's very close to the number that we had in 2016. So that was the consensus. What are some of the highlights that we saw in this tour? I guess the first highlight is that the crop overall is in very good shape. There are many fields with very good yield potential. The catch though is that we are behind in development. In 2016, the crop was well ahead of schedule. We had a very warm winter, the crop was just developing very well, and we had a very cool grain filling period, so we actually prolonged the grain filling period. So right now, the wheat is anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks behind in development. And to give you just an idea, typically when we get in Colby, we expect the wheat to be at the boot stage at this time of the year, and right now it's still at that second node, so we're well behind there. Likewise, when we get to South Central Kansas, we expect the crop to be already headed out and perhaps even a little bit of grain filling occurring, and it's still at the boot stage for most of the fields that were sampled there. The crop being behind in development is probably going to put grain fill later in the year and perhaps during the heat of the summer. So that can hurt our yields and can also, if it hurts yields, increase our protein. On a positive note, most of the fields that we sampled had either adequate or even excessive moisture in the profile. So that will play on favor of the crop, right? Even if conditions are a little bit warmer, the crop should have enough water to at least finish grain filling. Now, many of the fields that we sampled, especially in Dickinson County and more in the central and eastern part of the state, almost had an excessive amount of water. And we need to remember that wheat doesn't like wet feet, right? And so in many fields where water is excessive, if it induces anaerobic conditions, or in other words, if there's no oxygen for the crop to respire, it can cause waterlogging and it can cause premature death of the crop. Symptoms of that will be large spots or spots in the field where it's just going to be, the plants will be just white, kind of bleached white, and if you enter there and try to look for the kernels, they will be small and very shriveled, very low test weight kernels. So that can also play against this crop, is the excessive amount of moisture in some of the fields. Of course, these are very localized conditions, not really in the western portion of the state. An update on the disease side, I guess that's another positive note. We did not see much disease. Some fields showing a little bit of 10 spot or septoria here and there. Stripe and leaf rust, which will be two of our major concerns, were mostly found in south central part of the state into southwest Kansas. Very low levels in the bottom leaves, but the message is that the spores are already in the state. All the dew and with all the moisture that we have, it's very likely that, and especially with these recent rains that we had, it's very likely that those spores will be spread throughout the state. Now, we're not going to see those within an interval of about 2 weeks or so after those spores start infecting the plants. So producers need to be aware that rust is present in the state, both leaf and stripe rust. Conditions are ideal for the development, especially of stripe rust. Now, just be scouting your fields to make sure that if you need to spray a further fungicide, you do so before a pre-harvest interval of the product that you are spraying. Right? Many of these fungicide products, they are labeled just until heading or until anthesis. Some of them even just time within 45 days from harvest. So just be aware of those product labels. Another highlight of the wheat quality tour this year was really that was calling attention was the amount of fields that were either being grazed out or that had been sprayed with glyphosate and terminated, probably in order to plant another crop. And this year we're actually seeing much more. In the route that my car was on, we counted just 3 in the first day, but another 12 or 13 the second day. So a very large number of fields that got terminated, likely because producers had moisture in the subsoil, there was some rain in the forecast to also recharge the topsoil, and probably turning those acres into a crop like corn because of all that subsoil moisture that can really be helpful for the summer crop. Those were some of the highlights of this year's tour. Very low disease incidence, a crop that overall is with very good potential, but is behind in schedule as well. And if temperatures turn hot, it can catch up, and that will be detrimental to yield. If temperatures remain cool and moist, it's still a very good yield potential. And some significant area abandonment going on as well, mostly due likely to profitability and recharged soil profile at this point in time.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways, of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.